On a different calendar. Let's explain.
How the summer's extreme heat will impact fall foliage.
These kinds of extremes create stresses in trees.
What it's like to fly into the eye of a storm. We sit down with the brave hurricane hunters.
It's traveling so fast that it's tearing through some of the metal parts of the prop blades.
And we'll show you where the northern lights were shining.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Well, a very good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm WJLA Senior Meteorologist Brian Vandegraff. Well, odds are increasing that we could soon have another tropical depression or storm in the Atlantic. A disturbance formed over the weekend off the African coast. It's now south of the Cape Verde Islands. Right now is at about a 60% chance of forming into Tropical Storm Gabrielle over the next week. But given its location, we still have up to about 2 weeks before it might reach the United States. Of course, it's still way too early to know where the storm might go, even if it all comes together. We'll be keeping a close eye on that, obviously, moving forward. Today, the biggest immediate threats for beachgoers and rip currents. This is along much of the Atlantic coast as well as Southern California. As Michelle Guile reports, hundreds of swimmers were rescued over Labor Day weekend.
It's been one of the 3 busiest weekends of the summer for Newport Beach lifeguards.
Tar 5.
Rescues in the ocean as of late Monday afternoon have almost hit 250. In part because of strong rip currents and elevated surf, especially on south-facing beaches.
We have some surf that's been building through the week, and what happens with that high surf, that increases the strength and the size of our rip currents out there, and that's reflected in the number of rescues you see, all that water coming to shore.
Hot Southern California weather is drawing big crowds to the coast.
Requesting medics, Tower 6 for a 49-year-old male, precautionary C-spine.
All of the activity is keeping lifeguards on their toes, from the dispatch center to the towers down on the sand. In Newport, more than 2,500 people have been warned over the long holiday weekend that they're putting themselves in danger and to be careful. Surf was up in Surf City. People camped out under umbrellas on both sides of the Huntington Beach Pier to be near the water and feel the ocean breeze.
The surf's good. It's a little choppy. There's a lot of tourists out there, but the water's beautiful, low 70s. I was in the Rockies yesterday and glad to be back in Southern California in Huntington Beach.
Yesterday also marked the start of what's known as meteorological fall. It's not the same thing as astronomical fall, better known as the official start of fall, but meteorologist Katie Morgan took to Instagram yesterday to explain the difference between the two.
Happy first day of fall. Well, sort of. It's September 1st, and it's the first day of meteorological fall. So why is the meteorology community on a different calendar? Let's explain. Meteorological fall goes from September 1st through November 30th and is based on the annual temperature cycle. Of course, then we get to meteorological winter, which are the coldest 3 months of the year, December, January, February. March, April, and May are then used for meteorological spring, and then June, July, and August is meteorological summer. This is just easier for meteorologists to compare temperatures in these 3-month periods from year to year. It's better for climatology. And of course, this is different than astronomical fall, which is more widely recognized, and that usually falls in the 3rd month of September. This year, September 22nd. And astronomical fall, of course, based off of the Earth's position to the sun. But if you just can't wait until September 22nd, now you have another reason to start decorating for Halloween a little earlier.
When it comes to the start of fall, in addition to sweater weather and pumpkin spice latte, people look forward to the fall foliage. Jen Sullivan looks at how this summer's extreme heat and heavy rains could impact the autumn colors and where the best places are in the U.S. to view them.
The end of summer means the vibrant green leaves will soon transition to the warm hues of orange, yellow, and red, turning mountain ranges into mosaics of fall colors.
It's a really great opportunity to just get yourself outdoors, look at something beautiful.
Brett Keller is the CEO of Priceline. The travel site recently came out with a list of the best places for leaf peeping this year, and clocking in at number 1 was the Hudson Valley region in New York.
We typically look at accommodation trends, and we also are able to understand how far away those consumers are from those accommodations.
These radiant colors generate a lot of green for local economies. In Vermont alone, the state estimates the fall foliage brings in around $1 billion in visitor spending.
It is a major driver of our tourism industry.
William Keaton is a professor at the University of Vermont. He says there are a variety of factors as to why some areas experience more vibrant colors than other regions. One being the vast contrast between temperatures during the day and at night, the variety of tree species, and the landscape.
Fall foliage is a delicate dance between a number of things, and climate is one of the most important.
This summer brought intense heat and excessive rainfall to parts of the country. Keaton says those extreme weather patterns impact how vibrant the colors will be and when the leaves will begin to change.
These kinds of extremes create stresses in trees. They begin to brown up and drop their leaves sooner than they otherwise would.
Keaton says climate change could also cause the fall foliage season to shorten over time. If you do want to carve out time to see the fall colors, they typically peak in the beginning of October in the Northeast.
And while many people are thinking about fall, some forecasters are already looking ahead to something that could impact winter weather. The latest forecast from the World Meteorological Organization shows La Nina has a more than a 50-50 chance of emerging this fall and sticking around for much of the winter. For the southern United States, La Nina typically means a warmer and drier than usual winter, and it could bring colder temperatures and more moisture for some of the northwest and north central states. Time will tell. Well, with summer unofficially ending yesterday, many people across the country flocked to area beaches. While the weather in most places was perfect, the water quality was not. Max Williams reports on water quality concerns in Maine.
Beachgoers are soaking up every last bit of summer they can get, but for some, they are sticking to lounging.
It's better to just stay out of it, let it get cleaned naturally, you know.
Seamus Lagan is talking about what happened last week here at Algonquin Beach. Officials were testing the water during a routine check and found elevated levels of contamination from fecal matter, prompting the beach to put up warning signs.
If you have a cut or something, you could get that infection. You could have a bacterial infection, make you sick.
This comes after a new report shows more than 50 of Maine's beaches had elevated levels of bacteria from fecal matter in 2024. The Algonquin River showing the most concerning levels, with 8 days of potentially unsafe waters out of 20 days of testing.
If a really super high tide comes up, it's actually getting up into where ducks and things nest. It's going to wash all that matter into the water.
Well, flooding is becoming a problem in some parts of Rhode Island as well as Massachusetts. And it's not from too much rain, actually. It's from another issue. It's from too many beavers. As Temi Tope Adelaide shows us, the animals are building some very inconvenient dams.
They've been here way before we were. We destroyed the entire population. They're starting to migrate back here.
The issue now is the growing population of beavers and the dams they're building. They help the surrounding habitat, but they also cause flooding. People have tried breaking down the dams, but the beavers just quickly rebuild.
Now, the problem we have with the beavers is if you have a house located near a water source, they're damming it up while the water backs up. Now you lose your front lawn or your back lawn.
So they're working on humane ways to deal with the issue.
You can't trap them, you can't move them, can't shoot them, obviously.
One solution, building what they call a beaver deceiver.
If it's adjacent to some of our land, we build what we call a beaver deceiver, lower the floodplain on this one. The water's still traveling through. It brings it a little bit lower. The homeowner is a little bit happier, the beavers are happier, and we're happy because everything is going at the same time.
Many people were lucky enough to catch a view of the northern lights last night. This video comes from northern Maine. The lights are faint, but you can see a shooting star go across the screen. You can also see the aurora a bit more clearly in these images from Michigan. NOAA Space Weather Prediction Center expected the northern lights to be visible thanks to a geomagnetic storm that hit a G3 level, which is getting closer to the strong area. Well, coming up on the National Weather Desk, mosquito populations are on the rise across many parts of the U.S. We'll look at the unique way Texas officials are dealing with the issue.
I'm meteorologist Christian Bridges. Here's a look at your forecast for the Northeast. A beautiful Tuesday is in store for us with highs ranging from the mid-70s, Portland down to Boston, to the low 80s in places like Albany, near 80 in western New York towards Syracuse and Buffalo, and in the upper 70s in New York City. So another gorgeous day with the great streak of weather continuing. Plenty of sunshine across the region. Couldn't rule out a pop-up shower or storm across the higher terrain of New York and Vermont. Otherwise, we got more great weather to look ahead to Wednesday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Bailey. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Looks like the rest of Tuesday is looking spectacular. Upper 80s even in a few spots, or upper 70s, I should say, and lots of sunshine. The humidity is still going to be much, much lower. Stray shower in the mountains may be about it. We're going to see those rain chances going up later into the week. It's been a while since we had real rainfall in the Mid-Atlantic region. Upper 60s in the mountains, upper 70s around the rest of the area, near 80 degrees on Wednesday.
Hi, meteorologist Jennifer Collins with your Southeast forecast. Another hot one heading into Tuesday afternoon. Temperatures in the low 90s here across South Florida, with afternoon showers and thunderstorms still in the forecast. Into the 80s for the Carolinas, upper 70s for the higher elevation, and staying in the mid 80s for most of the Mississippi River Valley. Showers and thunderstorms will continue to impact Florida here as we continue through the middle of the week, with potential for heavy rainfall for South Florida. Then a cold front boundary moves through parts of the Southeast by Wednesday.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
This water tower eclipsed the morning sun over Pensacola Beach recently, and a few views of a recent sudden hailstorm over Providence. And in South Carolina, this for sure might not be the best thing for the social roseate spoonbill. It appears one might be grabbing this gator's tail.
For more content like this, subscribe to the National Weather Desk's YouTube channel.
And turning now to Rhode Island, where high bacteria counts has closed a number of Rhode Island beaches at several times across the summer. Nick Russo explains how weather plays a part in these closures.
From Easton's Beach in Newport to Oakland Beach in Warwick, several Rhode Island beaches closed earlier this summer. Jillian Choppy with the Rhode Island Department of Health says they're seeing high bacteria counts more frequently.
We have seen a little bit of an uptick in closures throughout the past few years, just likely due to the increase of precipitation events, but it really also dependent on what the summer weather is looking like.
Weather plays a big role in bacteria counts. Heavy rain often washes contaminated water into the bay.
What could come from stormwater runoff, so whenever we see typically over a half an inch of rain is when we're starting to see a little bit higher bacteria levels in our water bodies.
When the Rhode Island Department of Public Health tests the water for poor water quality, they also count the number of birds present to see if they could be contributing to it.
Other bacteria levels could come from waterfowl or dogs on the beach or other natural sources as well.
RIDOH tests water for bacteria caused by fecal matter, something no one wants to swim in, especially since it can make you sick.
Upset stomach, vomiting, nausea, diarrhea are some of the minor symptoms, as well as earaches, eye infection, skin rash.
Freshwater recreation areas are also tested for a different issue, dangerous blue-green algae.
It is a harmful algae bloom, which is usually that bright green or blue color or scum you're seeing as a mat on those freshwater ponds. Those can be extremely toxic to both humans and pets.
As the summer winds down, testing ends on Labor Day, but will start up again on Memorial Day 2026.
Well, what conditions in Iowa are taking a toll on farmers and their crops? Grayson Freund tells us about the impact of the soggy summer season.
Here at Pheasant Run Farm in Benton County, a summer of scorching heat and soaking rains has created challenges not just for farmers, but for visitors too.
So this year has definitely been different than it was a year ago, and so we've had to adapt to more rain rather than less rain, and so it has made things more difficult as far as harvesting sweet corn, and actually growing the crop has been quite different because you can't get out there when you want to be out there.
And the farm's main attraction, the sunflowers, have also been struggling this season.
They've actually been shortest that we've ever seen, and I think sunflowers just really enjoy warm and dry weather and a lot of sunshine, and we haven't seen that this year.
More rain leads to increased bug problems and a surge in weeds. And Eric says they've had to do more weeding this year than in 2 typical years combined. While crops rely on water to grow, too much water can lead to damage and poor growth.
Last year and the year before, we used a lot of irrigation. This year, we haven't used it so much, but we still use a little bit this year. We do actually cover some beds with biodegradable plastic. That does help reduce the amount of water that they receive on really heavy rainfall events.
The weather hasn't just affected the crops. Agro-tourism has taken a hit as well, with the farm having to close to visitors during storms or when the fields are too wet.
The mosquito population is growing in the Texas Panhandle. Officials are using a unique tool to battle the issue, a small fish. Jose Alcala has the story.
Since the start of the year, Amarillo has experienced nearly 150% of its annual rainfall, helping form the perfect breeding grounds for mosquitoes. Deputy Environmental Health Director Zachary Batterow says the city needed to expand their defense.
You're always in the back of your mind when you're using chemical that a resistance can happen. Getting a resistance to being eaten, pretty hard. So also the cost, you spend maybe $150 for a pound, which could do quite a bit of area, versus $800 for like 40 pounds of chemicals.
The minnows are native to the area and will not replace the chemical spraying the city provides. The city will house the fish in a 200-gallon habitat and release them as they are needed around the area. Before making the decision, they consulted with various experts on the strategy.
We talked to many people, we went to conferences, we even talked to our experts in Texas Parks and Wildlife that were over the fishery, got their feedback and their approval.
So far, 5 pounds of minnows have been released, and the city is already planning to use the fish as a long-term plan.
Once we start getting them breeding and repopulation, we would like to give them out to the counties where people have like ponds and things of that nature to help reduce those numbers out there, because as of right now, we can't go out in the counties and treat.
The NOAA hurricane hunters have been back at it this season, flying into major hurricanes like Aaron, gathering essential data to improve forecasts. Emily Gracie sat down with the flight engineer to hear about the planes themselves and the damage they sustain while out on their missions.
We originally got the planes back in 1975. It took about a year of mods to get them up to hurricane status or ready to fly into hurricanes. So I think they flew their first storm in 76, 77 time frame. So they're pretty old aircraft in general, but they're so well maintained by our maintenance staff that they're like brand new.
What kind of damage do they sustain in hurricanes?
So a lot of it is from the rain itself, actually. The rain's traveling so fast that it's tearing through some of the metal parts of the prop blades. So they'll have to refile down the prop blades quite often. We try to put tape. It's this thick 3M tape on the leading edges, so all the leading edge surfaces, and that gets destroyed. And the reason why I put that tape there is because if the tape wasn't there, then our leading edges, the metal will be destroyed. So a couple of spinners are getting replaced because of the damages that were sustained. Sometimes we overstress the aircraft. So a lot of people were asking, like, what kind of inspections do you do? We check everything. This plane is constantly being inspected over and over again by multiple sets of eyes.
It's comforting in the way that they've been doing the same thing for 50 years and they've stood the test of time. But then also, I can imagine as a member of the media, if I walked up to get on the plane and I saw tape, I'd probably be like, what's happening here?
Thick tape. It looks good. It looks good. It's like more of a cushion.
Perhaps NOAA is getting some new planes to fly into hurricanes. Can you tell me what those are and kind of the timeline on when or if that's going to happen?
Essentially, we are getting C-130J models, which are the newest model of C-130s that are out there. It's going to be able to do so much more than what the P3 is capable of doing just because of the size alone of it. The way that they're planning on doing rolling pack outs for the scientists so we could change missions quicker. But we're not expecting to get those until about 2030. So that's when we'll get the first 2 that are rolling off of the line. There's talks of getting more, but it all just depends on what funding we receive from the government. So.
Very interesting stuff. To hear more from Dan about the NOAA hurricane hunters, including some wild stories from his most turbulent eye wall penetrations, listen to this week's episode of our podcast, Off the Radar. It's available now anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And time now for a short break, but first we soar over northern Michigan.
Well, a very good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. We've got a little bit of rain across part of the Midwest for the day today, but as far as temperatures go, 70s and 80s all across the Midwest today. That rain kind of slides its way a little far to the south tomorrow, and it starts to cool down behind that. Highs in the 60s across the northern Midwest for your Wednesday. And for Thursday, that rain kind of shifts a little closer to the Ohio Valley and a few showers to the north.
Well, a good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Succi. Look at our forecast across the region. Of course, this is back to work Tuesday for many, and really not a bad looking day. Upper 80s for portions of Dallas, Fort Worth, Oklahoma City pushing 80 degrees. Could get a couple showers and storms, portions of Arkansas into Louisiana. And then on Wednesday, here too, not a bad looking September day. Most of the region dry, highs in the 80s and 90s.
Good Tuesday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Stella Sun. We're continuing to watch portions of Central California where flood watches remain in effect with monsoon moisture surging its way up towards portions of Central California. Meanwhile, storms may bubble up towards parts of the Rocky Mountain West near Denver. Daytime highs climbing to the upper 80s through Albuquerque and in Denver, low 80s in Los Angeles, triple-digit heat in Phoenix through Las Vegas, and 92 in Portland. That's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, check this out. This wall of dust billowed into Phoenix recently. It's called a haboob, which is a type of dust storm. Meteorologist Vetus Reed explains how they form.
What is a haboob? Well, it has several things that are involved with it. You have to have very dry conditions, which they had in the Southwest. We saw that video from Phoenix, that wall of dust moving in over the city. Well, they were very dry, and then there was a line of thunderstorms that was to the southwest of the city that was pushing in. The gust front, the winds from the frontward downward draft was lifting up that dry air, that dust, and that was what you saw. That created the dust storm. So a dust storm is when it's just dry and the winds are blowing. Haboob is when the winds are associated with a thunderstorm. So that's the difference there. So what we saw, a haboob is a dust storm, winds from an incoming thunderstorm. A haboob is an Arabic word which means to blow, and it is the outflow of winds from an oncoming thunderstorm versus just a dust storm. Dust storms are just the dry air blowing across the ground, creating dust storms. The haboob is the thunderstorm line, gusting those winds up.
And you can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on this back to work, back to school, back to the grind Tuesday. I'm WJLA Senior Meteorologist Brian Vandergraff. Make it a great day, and hopefully we'll see you back here again tomorrow.